Okay, welcome back to Hindustan Astrology. I'm Katya, and I have back today Dr. Santhip Kanholy. Thank you so much for joining me again. And today we're going to talk about a very special event that's coming up that everybody's talking about. So I wanted to make a big video about it, and that is the solar eclipse that's happening on June 21st of 2020, and is taking place at 6 degrees of Gemini in the nakshatra called Mrigashira, and this means the head of a deer. And it's called the Star of Searching. And it is the star Bellatrix, which is actually on the left shoulder of Orion. And it symbolizes of the female warrior. So it has a very energetic quality to it, and the planetary ruler is Mars. And so I wanted to open up the floor and let Dr. Santhip talk to us about, what he thinks is this eclipse is going to be about.
Right. Yeah. Thank you again, Katya, for inviting me back to your channel and so forth. Yeah, the eclipse is definitely a very significant event as far as the mundane astrology is concerned, and even in our own lives also, depending upon the planetary positions in our own charts, eclipse is a very important event to consider. What I've seen is that eclipses become very significant if the eclipse is happening very close to your sun or moon. One way or the other, you will see it definitely impacting you in a big way. Now, it's great that you started off by mentioning about Bellatrix and so forth. No, in ancient times, especially in Arabian astrology, Bellatrix was a very important star. It was actually a wealth-giving star. It was actually linked with linked with Capella. That was the other name that was given. So, like we call the acapella, right? That kind of thing. So, like the Capella the Capella is actually a wealth-giving star. And now you have the eclipse happening on the Gemini portion of the Mrigashira Nakshatra. Now the mythological story of the deity of Mrigashira Nakshatra, who is actually Soma, the moon god himself. Now, Soma, there are two special stars in the entire zodiac amongst the nakshatras, which are special in my view. One of them is actually Mrigashira, because the deity of Mrigashira is actually Soma, the moon god himself. The other is actually Pushya, where the deity is actually Brihaspati, associated with the planet Jupiter. So you find there are two nakshatras where the planets are making as an appearance with regard to as an actual deity. So Mrigashira is one of those nakshatras, and Mrigashira is linked with the moon god. So moon god is actually you could say having a lot of history. Now Soma actually is the elixir that was drunk by the gods to get high and to become immortal, literally. So you will see during this time period when the eclipse is happening on Mrigashira Nakshatra, increased chances of people to escape. You'll see that, a lot of alcohol kind of, I mean, a lot of people are definitely isolated in their home right now, consuming all this information.
Yes, lots of alcohol sales are up.
Yeah, exactly that. So that's definitely going to be boosted for sure. But the key thing is that you'll also see karma around that being triggered in your life. Like, of course you can, get healthily, get alcohol healthy. I'm not saying that's healthy also, but still the problems associated with alcohol is going to come up more. The problems associated with addiction is going to come up more. We'll see that becoming an actual theme for the people to deal with, like addiction issues. Addiction issues is a big thing with Mrigashira, because they try to search for truth. That's what they are trying to search for, but they end up searching. And search is a search. You never know where you begin up the search. You
and another addiction that's people have to be careful, not just alcohol, but shopping. The shopping, because this is the nakshatra of the collector. They want to, they're always searching for that last piece to their collection. And so you get shopaholics with this nakshatra. So everybody's at home, and what are they doing? They have a drink, and then they get on their phone and and there goes their money. So
yeah, so that's definitely a very strong theme that can happen here. Definitely I would say lot of karma with collection. Now you might actually see some collections. Either you might start making a new collection, or you might actually get rid of the collection that you have. I've seen both can happen. Now, the eclipse will definitely change the way you interact with the information. That is something I can say. Like, so this is like people haven't dealt with a smartphone all their life. Suddenly they are dealing with smartphone. People who haven't got an iPad all their life. Suddenly they are dealing with an iPad. People who are finally using a computer, like that is being expanded in many ways. You'll begin to see that kind of a thing. New ways of gathering information, really, new ways of searching for knowledge, searching for information as well. And this is a great time period for occult activities, though. Soma is the moon god himself. Moon is something that shines at night. Nighttime is the prime time for occult or astrological knowledge and so forth. Definitely that is there. So that is definitely a very, very important aspect here. Now, one definite thing you will see is that people are going to search for new ways to make money. That is a key thing you will see. Like, of course, many of them are home. They're searching already. So this could also mean that you'll see that the searching star is also giving this theme of searching for new jobs. Really, you'll see that becoming people who haven't started searching for jobs will, for the past 11, 12 years, if they're stuck in the same job, now they are actually begun searching. So searching is the initial part, how you will actually begin to move forward in your life also. If you're stuck in a rut, you have to search for something new. At that point is when you will actually begin to move forward as well. Of course, the search will take you different places. You might start off with the wrong place, then eventually you will get to the deep search within yourself. That's the actual thing that can happen. Now, Mrgashira Nakshatra is also having a healing aspect to it, especially the Gemini padas for it, because Gemini, you can see that in the story of Mrgashira Nakshatra, it is having a link between Prajapati, which is associated with Rohini, Mrgashira is associated with Soma, and then you have Rudra, which is associated with Ardra, So the story goes that Prajapati started chasing Saraswati, his daughter, and created the entire world, wanting to lust after her, and then Rudra was the one who actually stopped him from chasing her, So it's almost like to a point I can even link, in my opinion, you can even link the current protest against racism and stuff like that, especially, the cops are being put to a higher moral standard, really. So, Rudra was the one who actually made Prajapati the one with power to actually look at his own moral standard. By Rudra actually cut off one of Brahma's heads, one of Prajapati's heads, So that is how the legend goes. Now, then eventually the Prajapati understood his mistake, and then even the gods also joined him and requested Rudra to actually give the blessing of, restore his head back, because without Prajapati, the world wouldn't function. And then the legend goes that it is actually a deer's head that was kept on top of Prajapati. So now there's a lot of mythological thing here, So now definitely a deer's head is a very symbolic thing. So a deer's, especially in the West, in the US, a deer is like a trophy. You hunt something, you get it, that's your trophy on the wall. That's it. Now you will find this thing for trophies getting very strong. I want a trophy in my home. I want a memorabilia of my travel. I want this to commemorate this event and so forth. And on the same thing, you'll also see a diploma, exactly. Yeah, a diploma, a certificate to prove my value, and just frame that certificate on your wall and all that. You'll begin to see that a lot. The key thing is also, because the symbology of deer is there, the actual meaning of a deer is very, very important as well. A deer, the deer is actually associated with a lot of occult practices. Actually, you use deer skin for many spells. You meditate on the deer skin. Shiva himself is meditating on the deer skin. So again, this is also symbolizing the deep occult nature of this nakshatra. You'll start searching for information. You'll be suddenly reading occult books, and that will definitely be a theme. Definitely, the occult world is definitely going to have a big expansion in the solar eclipse time period. No doubt about that. Now, having said so, the real thing though is that because the deer is also symbolic of the desires, like how we chase after the desires. The deep internal level, everyone is going to look deeply into a desire. Are we searching for the right desire? What can we desire? What is the highest desire that is possible? That is also a deep internal shift that is actually happening. Now, along with that, there is this moral policing kind of thing that will be becoming strong. You will see a lot of moral policing kind of thing becoming very strong out there. Now you will see lot of people are going to get active on the social media front. I mean, it's already active. Now it's going to get hyper activated, especially after the eclipse. I can definitely say, with this eclipse, the real twist thing is that Mars, the actual nakshatra lord of Mrigashira in the Vimshatri Dasha scheme, is actually aspecting Rahu, where the solar eclipse is actually happening. So if a malefic is aspecting a planet, there is a chance for
Let me pull up the
more
chart. Let me pull up the
more
chart
attacks.
for you. Yeah, do
Yeah,
screen share.
right. Yeah, that'll be great. So it will help people understand. So what I'm talking about here is that you can see how Mars is actually in Purvabhadrapada nakshatra, which is an extreme nakshatra by itself. And Mars is actually going into the debilitation pada in the Navamsha. It is going into Cancer in the Navamsha as well. So it's a Mars lacking strength. And that Mars is actually going to aspect Rahu, Sun, and Moon in Gemini. So when you have a malefic planet like Mars aspecting Rahu, Sun, Moon, then the aggression is kind of aggravated. It's kind of amplified.
Right.
And that's a big problem that is going to come.
Just so that the beginners understand, Mars's fourth aspect is the strongest one. In Vedic astrology, the planets have special aspects. It's different than Western. And Mars's are 4 and 8, but his strongest is fourth. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how he's aspecting Gemini.
Yeah, so like the square aspect, right, as it's called in the Western, the Mars square aspect is becoming very strong. And that's a problem, in my opinion, because usually this is the time period when Mars aspects anything, you really becomes like, either you are, you become aggravated, you become angry with your friends, with your siblings, with your colleagues. This anger is an actual problem that can come. Watch out for the anger on your social media, which is also linked with Gemini. You begin to see people getting more angry. I mean, people are already angry because of the protests and stuff like that. But then, after the solar eclipse, it can really, really get to the next point. Now, here the real point, the pointer here, is that Mercury is also retrograde. So it is pointing to anger over information. There might be some information that could come, some kind of someone sends you a message and that gets you on a rile. That's we all need to watch out for this particular trigger, and this is going to happen at a global level. Like how the news of what was the death of a black man, literally
George Floyd. Yeah
exactly,
that set everybody on fire.
Exactly that. So, we are kind of seeing the effects of the eclipse already. But now,
and that was the lunar eclipse, though. I mean, that's the thing. All that stuff, came to a head last week at the lunar eclipse. And there's 3 eclipses happening. This is the second one, which is the solar eclipse. And then we have a second lunar eclipse on July 5th.
Yeah. So now, when Mars is aspecting Sun, usually there is trouble from the army for the king. So usually Mars can be the soldiers, Mars can be the armed forces, or even the cops as well, the police forces as well. And then they are actually becoming a part of the trouble which you are getting. Usually the problem you have to, the nakshatra, which is where the eclipse is happening, is usually avoided for the next 6 months for any auspicious events. So for the next 6 months, and any planet transiting Mrigashira nakshatra is going to trigger that thing as well. So when Mars aspect transits to Mrigashira nakshatra, then then it's also not a great thing. But unfortunately, that might happen only probably toward the end of the year or so forth. So we have some time. But know that whenever Moon transits in Mrigashira nakshatra for the next 6 months, be aware. This someone sends you a message, it triggers you off, and then you are like, you go off on a rail. Now, usually the thing that can also happen with Mrigashira is that you start traveling as well. You can see here, Mercury is the Lord. Mercury can be actual travel which you're forced to do, or trouble because of traveling. Or Mercury can also be the traveling which you're doing online. You're searching for information online, knowledge online, things like that.
Well, and it's also in Punarvasu, and that is the return of the light, and having better luck doing things a second time. Yes. So a lot of people could be going back and going to the places that they were supposed to go 2 months ago.
Yeah, definitely that will be activated for sure. Definitely you might be traveling back Now, one thing that can also happen is that you might be reconnecting with your friends. You might be searching for your old alumni network, like a lot of new WhatsApp groups are formed between old friends, things like that. That kind of thing can actually be activated. Now, one interesting thing here with Magashara is that because the symbology is that of a deer, right? So I've seen that in one way or the other, deers will become prominent. There'll be now people who are actually investigating deers, studying deers, the biologists, the specialists of deer, they're gonna get more activity during this time period. We'll begin to see a lot of changes or a lot of new information coming with regard to deers in general. And what is interesting about deer is that the musk deer in India is considered to be extremely special deer. The glands of the musk deer is supposed to be very fragrant, and the fragrance is supposed to spread like a mile or something like that. It's a legendary kind of a thing, especially when their glands fall off once they mature or something like that.
Especially like they die, like one did out in my yard. The stench is overwhelming.
Yeah, so yeah, when they died, yeah. Now that of course, it is an effect. Magashira is also, I've seen effect connected with your nose, your sense of smell as well. It can usually be the fragrance. So usually, what I've seen with Magashira is that usually Magashira is also having a strong link with your eyebrows as well. So people finally are changing their eyebrows, they're shaping their eyebrows. A lot more eyebrow makeup. That kind of thing. I've seen that also with Mrigashira. I've seen their eye color, eye shade, all that, right? I've seen teams with that. So there is this, you'll see a lot more people, lot more, definitely the makeup industry is going to get into a big thing. There's going to be expansion on that front.
Yeah, they've been suffering a lot from this, quarantine and the economy and everything. So
yeah, usually, but one thing I can say is that Mrigashira is also, because it's a Mars ruled nakshatra and because Mars is aspecting Rahu, this is also a time period where I would really expect a lot more anger to come forth also. Now, you might actually be, there is a chance that certain kind of product can trigger the anger also at some point. Some kind of new information comes regarding one of the products, and that is actually triggering the whole people again. I would even say that with Mugashira. Now, what is interesting is that you might suddenly find yourself wearing a perfume more if you have not wear a perfume. Or suddenly the energy of Eclipse is actually making you to wear perfume, and you might actually be opening yourself to new kind of fragrances also this time period. There's an actual thing I've seen. Perhaps you might. Usually, what I say with Mrigashira is that these natives will do very well when they connect with essential oils, because essential oil is a natural fragrance kind of thing. You're connecting with the essence of a flower, all that. Now, what is interesting, what is very fascinating here is that Mrigashira is directly opposite to Ketu in Mula. Mula Nakshatra is really connected with very old things, it's the symbology is that of roots. So usually you'll find people coming back to their old ways. So, you'll see a lot more resurgence into the antique kind of a thing, like antique fashion, antique makeup, people going back to the old ways. You begin to see that, yeah, going retro, really. Yeah, you'll see that retro theme becoming very strong right now. I also think that, what is interesting is that a lot more practices can also go into the old ways. You might find that there is new technology coming so that you can actually reconnect with your old history and stuff. So that can actually happen. Now, one thing that was making me mindful of this Mula, there is a plant called as elderberry. I mean, in the US, it's a thing. You go to the store, you buy it, you can eat elderberry stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So elderberry is an actually good plant here. In my opinion, when you begin to take elderberry, when you even get the essential oil made from elderberry, anything with elderberry. Now, what is that is very good, because you are actually activating Mula and you are also activating Mrigashira, in my opinion. Now, when you get there is something called as a mead. Mead is basically fermented alcohol, but you're getting honey. Yeah. Now, you can actually get honey mead. Honey mead is like the alcohol that is fermented off honey. So that's a honey mead. And there is also elderberry mead. There is also, and these two meats are literally, there are some researchers out there who are actually claiming the soma that was linked with the ancient civilization of the Vedic times is actually the honey meat, actually. So they would actually get high on honey meat, and that's what they were actually being described as soma. Of course, That might be a ritualistic aspect. That could have been a physical aspect. That could have been an
Maybe that
energetic
explains
aspect.
the Vimanas.
Of course, but yeah, sure. When you're high end stuff like that, you could get really out there. But yeah, definitely I would say that with the Mrigashira, you'll see these old ways of things coming back. The old, like the maid thing can get quite popular for instance. And this is something I would actually consider to be a remedy. In fact, there are deities in the Vedic pantheon like Bhairav, the Shiva, to whom you actually offer alcohol. And you actually, so there are people who would actually take this honey meat. They would take one shot of it. They would actually offer it to Shiva first, and then they would have it themselves. So and of course, there are. It's not for everyone and so forth. But especially if you are planted Margashira, or you are dealing with the eclipse energy, I'm sure this is something I can encourage. Now, this is an actual remedy to calm down certain forces also. Usually and alcohol offered to a god is considered to be good, but again, it is just one shot. You're not drinking a whole bottle and stuff like that.
Right.
That
Right.
kind of thing. So what is also interesting is that with Mrigashira, the searching part is also you'll see a lot of information privacy kind of thing becoming very strong. The privacy aspect of your searches, like definitely Google is going to have an extremely hard time. There's a lot more thing about the information aspect of your life is going to be coming forth. That kind of a thing is becoming very, very important, especially now that we are online, and there's
there's a stalking aspect. That's the
Exactly.
negative aspect to Mrigashira. It's
Exactly that.
It's searching and chasing, but the negative is stalking somebody.
Exactly that. So definitely you have to watch out for stalkers. 100% people will be stalking during eclipse and Mrigashira. If you feel like you are being watched, good chance someone is watching you, especially online or something like that.
Right.
So in fact, someone was saying, so ensure this is a good time period to actually enhance the privacy. Make sure you don't get hacked. Make your accounts hack proof. Lengthen your passwords. Do all that privacy kind of thing. This is an important time to do that, because there might be some big time hacking thing happening and so forth. I do think some big thing will come out of some hackers. I do really think there'll be some big attacks that can come on the hacking front, which will actually trigger a lot of other things also. So probably in my opinion, I do think WikiLeaks could become very active, or something more along those lines to become very, very strong.
See, that's what I think for, Washington, D.C. This is where I put this chart for. Because, and we haven't even talked about the fact that we've got a Kalasarpa Yoga here, right?
Yeah, we do have a Kalasarpa Yoga. You could say,
and the fact that Sun and Moon and Mercury, Mercury's the farthest, but it's at 20 degrees and Rahu's at 4. So Mercury's really the outlier, from the Kalasarpa. It's still in Gemini. It's still contained within, the parameter, but it's the furthest in degree. And so that makes it and it's retrograde. So it's like, hey, I got something to say over here.
Yeah, usually I would advise that biggest thing I would advise is that watch out for the messages you're sending. Watch out for the mistakes you're making. Think twice before you're sending anything during the eclipse time. Watch out for what you're communicating as well, what you're saying to someone. Think twice. Do you really want to say it? Do you really want to put that thing out there? Are you willing to lose your job over the stuff you said? That kind of, are you willing to sacrifice
especially for politics?
Exactly,
I think as things are heating up right now, people have got to be careful of their words, especially for Washington, D.C., because this is taking place in the 3rd house, which is the house of communication. But in the Kalasarpa, in the Nagas, in the 12 different kinds of serpents, the 3rd house serpent is Vasuki, and he is literally the spinner and the churner and twister of tails, and he twists information, you see. And so, we've got to be careful of information that comes from us, also from things from the past. And that's the thing. I think it's going to be information that comes to us telling us about things that happened in the past that we didn't know about,
Yes, 100%. I think that kind of thing, things you thought was something else, and now you're getting the real picture of it, and that's shocking you.
And you notice how all the planets are moving towards the head of the serpent.
Yeah.
And so that's literally like the tail of the serpent curling up, getting ready to pounce, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
very
Kalsapa
dangerous.
yoga. Yeah, definitely. I can say Kalsapa yoga is a very extreme kind of a yoga. Like either you get extremely famous or you get extremely depressed. So definitely that kind of extremity is kind of amplified here. For sure.
Yeah.
Now here the Mars aspect is definitely one aspect where you need to watch out for violence. Usually I've seen wars with Mars aspect. Usually there
Well,
might
it's
be
at the
some.
fulcrum too. It's at the very
Yep.
middle of all of this.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
so that,
Yeah.
and it rules Mrgashira. So, I mean, it's going to be all about Mercury retrograde and all about Mars.
Right.
And
Definitely.
Mars
That
is
Mars.
sitting on top of our favorite, I'm being sarcastic, our favorite
Yeah.
star, Sheet, which
Right.
is what it sounds like. It is not a
Yeah.
good star. It is a very bad star, and very sad things happen when planets are, when we have a Yogatara with it. And having Mars, the soldier there, just means that there's going to be some sad things, probably also having to do with military leaders, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But look what it's pointing at. It's pointing at Virgo, which is health.
Yep.
So I think we're going to find out some information from the past concerning, things about health as well that we didn't know. Like now they're pulling up the Google satellite images from Wuhan from October of last year, and they're showing even then the hospitals were being flooded with cars, so that's how far back the virus was going, and, we didn't know. So all that kind of stuff is going to come out, I think, at this time.
Yeah, definitely there's a lot more, a lot of information aspect that can be triggered. A lot more shocking news. The shock factor of the news is going to get to the high. It's not a pleasant thing, but it is one of those karmic things. But I do think there can be increased aggression at multiple levels. Definitely, as far as the US is concerned, a lot of information is going to trigger a lot of people. I think people are definitely going to be coming out of their comfort zones as far as the information is concerned. And usually eclipses are not great time period for the leaders of the country where the eclipse is visible. So eclipse is actually visible in India, in Delhi, big time, and also in China also. So I mean, leaders of those countries will be facing with some very strong pressures for the next 6 months. It's not a good time at all. Even their own health, they need to watch out for their own health as well. Mm-hmm. Usually Mars aspect upon the eclipse can also inflict death. Now, one thing I really want to point out here is also that Ketu being in Mula Nakshatra, Mula is also linked with Earth and volcanoes and stuff like that. Now, I really wouldn't be surprised if there was some earthquake kind of thing happening. I really wouldn't be surprised if some volcanoes kind of showed increased activity. I really wouldn't be surprised by that. I mean, of course, people are saying, now, what else could we expect? We had a global pandemic. There's an actual meme going, okay, next the Yellowstone is going to erupt. Think something else is going to happen, something like that, But it's an actual thing, So the eclipse is one of, now on the if the eclipse is capable of bringing a lot of challenging karma for the entire world, you can actually use this particular time period to chant mantras and actually face that karmas head on at the moment of the eclipse instead of facing it for the rest of the 6 months. So what yogis would do is actually they would wake up no matter what time the eclipse was actually happening. They would wake up, they would be chanting mantras, and then you will see that because for them, any mantra that is chanted when the eclipse was happening, that mantra was 1,000 times more amplified. So they say there are mantras you get a lot of blessings from when you chant 1,125,000 times. Right? So now you just need to chant the same mantra 125 times to get the effect of the same thing. So eclipses are extremely potent time period for chanting any kind of mantras. Now, usually with Rahu Mrgashira, I would advise the mantras of goddess Parvati or goddess mantras. The goddess mantra is extremely powerful right now. Especially with Mars aspecting Rahu, any kind of goddess Kali mantras are extremely powerful right now. And if people use this time period, like even you just wake up in the middle of the night, ideally they say it's not good to sleep during the eclipse time. But a lot of the people, majority of the world is going to be sleeping as well, But if you wake up during this time period, you put yourself up and chant those mantras, that is something I can say it can be a very powerful thing. for whoever does that. I've seen
And
that
of
can
course,
give.
Ganesha. I mean, because Ganesha is associated with
Yes, yeah.
Ketu.
Yes,
You know,
definitely. Ganesha mantra, that's what. Definitely. Ganesha. Now, you can actually find tantric forms of Ganesha. There are much more powerful mantras associated with Ganesha. So now, do anything with Ganesha. Any kind of mantras with Ganesha, any kind of mantras with Goddess Kali. Now, Mars is also the warrior god. So, any kind of mantras associated with, warrior gods like Hanuman, for instance. Now, Mrigashira is also linked with the moon. Now, moon is also having a link with Shiva because Shiva is having moon as his head decoration, really. So, any kind of mantra associated with Shiva, that is also extremely powerful during this time period. So, you chant this mantra 1,000 times now. It's almost like you had gained a big time merit when you're doing it in eclipse time. Now, one thing also I can say in general, if you're exposed to the eclipse rays, that is considered not to be good, especially when it's visible.
say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Say that eclipse is actually happening, and you go out and expose yourself to the eclipse rays. So it's not considered to be good unless you do spiritual practices, because
To go
at
out
that
and look
time,
at it is what you're saying.
yeah,
Right.
exactly that. Yeah, because what happens is that the Rahu energy is very much stronger during the eclipse time, and then you are getting that whole lot of Rahu into your life, and Rahu is chaos energy. For the yogis, it's fine because they are constantly chanting mantras to handle that kind of an energy. They are waiting for this kind of moments. But for ordinary people, it's like it's a challenge for sure.
It's Santhip. We've got all this equipment and stuff that people want to look through when they want to look at the eclipse. Is that not okay?
Yeah, but you'll see that people who has directly looked at the eclipses. In one way or other, Rahu has become very strong for the next 6 months in their life. A lot of chaos came in. That they had to change jobs, arguments with the boss, arguments with their spouse. All that would have happened. That's what I've seen. A friend of mine who directly went to view the eclipse, and he was at the middle of it, and he literally started an argument with his boss that came out of nowhere, and he finally had to change his jobs, all that. I mean, of course, if you're a yogi, great. They don't care about the world anyways. So it's like the Rahu kind of energy is very strong. So that is one thing I really advise. I also advise, especially it's visible in China and India. So this particular region, definitely they are gonna feel that impact very, very strong. And I've seen this effect. Like people, like with my friend, was a big eye opener for me. When he had a strong, stable job, and out of nowhere, like his chart wasn't predicting that in a strong thing. Now, if you're running any kind of Rahu time period, Rahu Mahadasha, Antardasha, anything Rahu, then it's a problem. Now, I think we can talk about the eclipse effect for all the signs right now, Katya.
Okay. I just wanted to also point out, I think we've just been talking about it all year, so it's like we're kind of sick of talking about it. But I mean, we've got now 5 planets retrograde for this lovely eclipse.
Yeah.
And like I said, I put this for Washington D.C. So all of this stuff is in the 10th house of career, and then Venus retrograde. Actually, Venus retrograde in Taurus in the 2nd house is not such a bad thing. It's actually good for money. You think it'd be bad, but it's actually more like money from the past that's coming back to you, that's due to you.
Yep.
And so I think that this is, something that's very important for us to remember, that, we've got 5 planets in retrograde. And then, like this is set for the time of the eclipse, but in the United States chart, for the birth chart, the eclipse is taking place in our 7th house of partnerships. And it was Takshaka, the Naga, the serpent, who is the carpenter, and he manipulates contracts. He manipulates business situations. And so this is why the United States at this time has to be very careful of people that sound good, that Mercury retrograde, like, the snake charmer. Oh, let me tell you, twist this tail and tell you all these wonderful things I'm going to do for you. And, let's do this business deal together and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, a bunch of hooey. And so this is, at this time, we've really got to be careful of that. And then also, Mars being in the 12th house that's of foreign lands. And so this is the enemy
Yes.
from foreign lands concerning sixth house health matters and work as well.
Definitely.
And so I just think those are things that we've got to be aware of, you know, and especially having this as the outlier. That's the thing, is that this degree is no bueno.
Retrograde planet directly involved in the eclipse is definitely going to, make you search for information, a lot of documentation problems, a lot of, wrong messages.
Information surfacing. That's the thing, you guys. You have to realize eclipses are shadow points. They're not real. It's a shadow. So when it's going across the earth, it's revealing, it's like the flips, it's the reverse of what you think it is. Instead of it covering up things and darkening things, it's actually revealing things to us that were previously hidden. It's kind of disclosing disclosing things. And so that's the effect of it in our lives, is that it's showing to us things that were previously hidden.
Yeah, definitely. I think there'll be a lot more hidden information coming up for sure. I can definitely say a lot of hidden information about wars, a lot of battles, a lot more new information coming up. Now, one last thing I will add here is with respect to the Punvasu Nakshatra, which is the Lord of Rahu here. A lot of old things that you thought how things were, that's going to change. That can change with your friends, that can change with your siblings, can change with your cousins, aunts, uncles, and Mercury in general. That is also going to change with the people whom you thought you knew as well. Lot of things you thought you knew are going to change. That's one of those things with it's a shock factor that will come forth, and that is coming forth also. So it's like you didn't know that your neighbor was like a pedophile, or you didn't know your neighbor was a stalker or something like that.
Stalker, kind of especially.
Yeah. So usually that kind of thing comes out very, very in a shocking fashion. That's one thing we'll say. Okay, so
so now we're going to go through the 12 signs, you guys, because I was actually going to do this in a separate video, but I thought it would be much more fun to have Santhip do it with me.
Right.
And so I just, we'll start with Aries, which is here. So the transit is taking place in your third house. Mercury rules your third and sixth houses.
Right.
Mars is in your 12th. The Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto retrograde is in your 10th, and Venus is in your 2nd. So the way I was feeling this was panning out was that where the transit is taking place, the third house, is kind of like the shadow point. Those are the things that need to be revealed to you.
Yes.
And then the fight, Mars, and the fight is about the thing that's in your 12th house.
Yeah.
But you're stuck in your 10th.
Right.
And Venus retrograde is making you feel like you're not being loved right now. So
Aries natives are having a hard time, but it's one of those things they feel naturally okay with, because you could say Rahu is in the third house for the eclipse is happening in the third house, which is the house of courage as well. And Mars aspecting eclipse is actually helping an Aries native. So they are definitely going to have problems, especially in terms of communication, in terms of doing new things for themselves. And they are literally forced to deal with a new hobby, You find that kind of thing. The third house is also the house of friendship. It's also the house of younger siblings. It is also the house of courage. And remember, third house is the 8th house from the 8th as well. So it is actually like a Bhavat Bhavam. So that you have an increased interest in the occult world and occult thing that will be happening right now as well. So that is a thing that can happen with Aries. So that is something I've seen. So I can definitely say with Aries, a big theme will be a strong theme about travel as well. Now you'll find these natives will suddenly be forced to travel, and that can be a thing. So one more thing I can say is that so thing with Aries also, I'll say that you'll find that they are finally becoming more involved with your devices and stuff. You'll begin to see that they are actually trying to get more collectors items and stuff like that. You'll begin to see that. You'll find that they are actually getting into even I would say that they would really be into a lot more information gathering. They need to be handling that information overload really. That's the key thing I would say. Now, people who are entering into a new world of information, that can also happen. The other aspect of Aries is also that of, one different thing I will say is that these natives will be finding something new about themselves as well during this time period. So something that they thought they knew, but they didn't know that that's there within them. They'll find a lost item again, that kind of thing. They'll begin to reevaluate a lot of courageous aspects. So third house is an important house for entrepreneurship in general. You find that these natives are definitely trying to find new ways of becoming entrepreneurs. You'll also see that these natives are also becoming very direct with their communications. You'll also see that they are a lot of communication lessons that they're learning in many ways in this time period. Aries natives are naturally, they are naturally triggered very easily. Now, this time period is when they have to watch out for their communication very, 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 very importantly. So I've seen that it becomes one of those very, very important time period to watch out for what you're actually saying for as far as an Aries native is concerned. So you'll see that kind of a theme becoming very strong. A lot of miscommunication kind of themes happening with Aries natives. So it's one of those things I can definitely say. So they definitely need to watch out for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so for Taurus, this transit's taking place in your second house. Mercury rules your second and fifth houses, and Mars is in your 11th house. The Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto is in your ninth, and Venus retro is in your first. So the way it feels is that, the shadow is taking place in your second house. So things are being revealed to you, especially concerning possibly immediate family members that you did not know before. Having Mercury rule your fifth house, it could also be concerning your children, information you did not know about your children before. And Mars is in, so the fight is really in your community. You're feeling like you're fighting your community. Perhaps you're having a difficulty with your father or with education. Money may have been withheld from you, but I think it's gonna come to you at this time. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Those are very good points. I would even say that for these natives, definitely they'll become extremely conscious about their diets. They'll begin to see that they are maybe eating things that they should be eating. They're actually having poisonous stuff, and that kind of shift is going to happen in a big way. I'll even say that the way they have been spending money will also be coming to a question. The way they're gathering, what kind of collection kind of thing is happening. That is that'll be a very strong thing for Marushira. I'll also definitely there'll be a healing aspect with a focus on new ways of treatment, new kinds of alternative treatment, new herbs even, that can also happen. I would even say definitely these natives will have they'll face some challenges financially, so they need to be prepared for that because it's in second house. Now, of course, there can be some opportunities coming your way financially also. That is also possible around eclipse. Now, there is a chance that someone who might actually you get a good deal during financial, you might think of an investment opportunity during this time period. Watch out for that. There's a good chance that there is a shadow hidden beside that. Eclipses are not good time period to make big investments. There's a good chance that that's not going to work out. There's a good chance that there's something hidden, not all the documents are in the top and so forth. So yeah, that's what I would say for Taurus.
Yeah, money, because the second house is money.
Yeah.
Having the shadow there, you could be, somebody could be telling you, oh, this is a great deal, and it ends up being horrible. So
yeah,
lose all your money.
Yeah. So Taurus for sure is having that problem. Yes, definitely.
Okay, so let's go on to Gemini. So this is here. This is happening for you, my dear. This transit is taking place in your first house. Mercury rules your first and fourth houses. Mars is in your 10th. Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto is in your 8th, and Venus retro is in your 12th. So having the shadow in your first house and Mercury rules your first and fourth, so it could be something revealed to you at this time concerning your mother, but also, concerning your head. Like, you could have, had eye problems or headaches or maybe even migraines due to your eyes or something like that. And that's going to be revealed to you. You're going to find out why. The fight is taking place in your 10th house of your career. There's some tension there. And having the Saturn, Pluto retrograde, Jupiter in your 8th, you're transforming at a very deep level. And actually, this is probably, believe it or not, a really great time for research. Because all these planets are retrograde and they're like, dig deep, get down, you know, like if you're at home, you're stuck at home, start researching and writing that book you always wanted to. And Venus retro in your 12th, you could get some money from foreign lands that's due to you at this time. You know, money that's supposed to come to you and it hasn't, and now it's finally coming in. So Gemini, actually, this may not be such a bad thing for you. What do you think?
Yeah. So definitely, I think the fact that Mercury is actually in Gemini is actually helping this eclipse in many ways. Though it is retrograde, but it is there. It is actually in a better position. Sure, it is getting a malefic aspect from Mars, but what I would say for Gemini for sure is they are going through a big self-transformation. The self-transformation would have happened last year as well. They're going through similar themes of self-transformation because we had an eclipse in Gemini last year as well. This year, it's kind of, they've been through this last year. Same themes are actually coming back again. But now it's much more intense. It's like there's a good chance that they'll be researching about their health. For sure, they'll be searching about new ways to do things. 100% they'll be.
And psychological health, because it's in the head, it's in the first house. So
Exactly
maybe
that.
a lot of issues, you know, karmic issues are coming up to them, like why they behave certain ways, why they get triggered by things, you know, and transforming and changing that so that they're more positive, you know?
Yeah, definitely. The thoughts they're thinking, the speech they're doing. In fact, you know, the more of a negative speech you're doing, the more of a negative thinking you're having. Guess what? You're just enhancing that kind of presence in your life. So you'll actually become very conscious this time period. You know, especially with regard to what you're actually saying, especially with regard to what you're saying with your friends. You begin to there'll be this separation between you and your friends that can happen. You might begin to see that this perhaps is a great time period really to search for new ways of doing things also. You'll begin to see that a lot. Like a Gemini native is definitely going through a big transformation. They are beginning to realize what are the real priorities in their life, you know. They're beginning to understand these are things worth traveling for. These are things worth going for, you know. You'll find these natives are definitely searching out for antiques for sure. You'll find that kind of thing also. And then there'll be some interesting kind of knowledge or interesting kind of information also that will come their way, and that will actually inspire them. So Gemini natives will travel. Good chance that Corona or not, they're going to travel, and they're one way or the other, because of that travel, they have actually learned a lot about themselves as well. That is also one more thing I will say.
Right on. Yeah. Okay, so Cancer. This transit is taking place in your 12th house. Mercury rules your 12th and 3rd houses. Mars is in your 9th. Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto retrogrades in your 7th, and Venus retro is in your 11th. So having the shadow in your 12th, you know, you need to pay attention to your dreams at this time.
Yes, definitely.
Also with Mercury retrograde, you could get messages from foreign lands or foreigners that have been withheld. You're going to find out things about these places that you didn't know before. And then having Mercury rule your 3rd house, you know, I mean, that's siblings too. And it's information. I really think it's information that's been withheld from you. And then Mars, you know, the fight is in your 9th house. 9th house is higher education. There could be a fight there. There could be some tension there, you know. And then, you know, you feel like you've been stuck in your relationships. But for you, Cancer, Venus retro is in your 11th house of great gains. So I think you have the possibility out of everyone to get a lot of money at this time that's due to you from the past, like a lot, like a big fat check kind of money.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Cancer ascendant, the Rahu in 12th house, these are natives who definitely have to deal with the isolation very strongly. It's a challenging thing for these natives for sure. But there are some things that you can only do in isolation, whereas some things, you know, where you can't. The thing is that the 12th house team can also be foreign land. So you'll find them traveling, being willing to travel, travel abroad and so forth. You will see that. And this can also increase your fantasies as well. Like which you said with the dreams and so forth. So dreams is very important during this time period. I definitely see a lot more Cancer resident natives willing to look into more deeper kinds of travel, like astral travel and stuff like that. Probably you might have had an interest and you'll start finally looking into it. There's a good chance that you might be traveling solo travel to foreign lands as well. I've seen that kind of thing. And now, of course, once the corona calms down and so forth, that's when I think it will happen. I do think that with Rahu in 12th house, the eclipse in 12th house is also triggering this fantasy element in you. So this fantasy element is very good. So if you'll be extremely creative, you can create worlds out of nothing right now.
It's a great time to learn lucid dreaming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you haven't, I used to do a lot of lucid dreaming back in my 20s when I was younger and I had more time for that. As you get older, it's like you want to sleep when you're sleeping. You don't want to, don't want to work on lucid dreaming. But, and what is lucid dreaming? It's the ability to wake up when you're dreaming in your dream. So it's like it's like waking up and being conscious and knowing that you're dreaming and being able to control the dream while you're dreaming.
Yeah, definitely.
And flying, like learning how to fly, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, but you'll see that the Cancer resident natives have been doing this by itself, because most of them would be having trouble with their sleep, because you have a lot of activity with the eclipse happening in the 12th house of sleep as of now. This could also mean that either you are lucid dreaming because of the sleep disturbances, or you are actually having to deal with the fact that you are not getting good sleep, and you need to discipline yourself with your sleep.
You have to wear a Fitbit that tracks your sleep rhythms. That's what I've been doing, because
that's
I've
good.
learned that I'm a very restless sleeper, because I toss and turn so much, it counts as an awake time. And so I have to actually sleep more to make up for that. So but I wouldn't know that if I didn't have my Fitbit on and it wasn't tracking my sleep. So cancer
so
doing that.
Definitely that's one definite thing I can say. The Fitbit, the whole handheld kind of industry is gonna expand in a big way. You'll find a lot more people willing to get devices like Fitbits, a lot more tracking, a lot more information coming your way and trying to make sense of it. Or people are going to get their Apple Watch and look at all their Apple Watch kind of stuff. They're going to look at the Fitbit and try to make sense of the information. All that kind of thing is going to explode in a big way. For a Cancer resident native, definitely look at the sleep habits for sure. If the information is helping you with your sleep, use that in a big way. 100%. Yes, definitely.
Okay, so Leo. This transit is taking place in your 11th house. Mercury rules your 11th and 2nd houses. Mars is in your 8th, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto's in your 6th, and Venus is in your 10th. So the shadow is in your 11th house. You may have had some issues with the community that you're in or with elder siblings. And at this time, it will be revealed to you exactly what those issues are. And Mercury rules your 11th and 2nd houses. Well, those are the money houses. 2nd house is money, 11th house is big money. So it could, the issue could be concerning money too. And Mars is in your 8th house. Mars in the 8th is not good. It's actually a sign of disease. And, 2nd house is also a Maraka house. So you've got to also be cognizant of your health at this time, Leo. And that's really where the fight has been, is in the 8th house of transformation for you. You're trying to transform. You're trying to transform your money. And having the Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto retrograde in your 6th house of service shows me that you feel stuck with service. You feel stuck with the actual work of the job. And Venus retro's in your 10th house. So you're really trying to make money with your career. You're not trying to, get other people's money. You want to make money with your career and you feel frustrated. But I think at this time, you're going to find out what the issue is.
Yeah, definitely. I'll say finally, Leo native is realizing that they do have bigger ambitions. That's the way I would put that. They are realizing they do have financial ambitions, and perhaps it is time period that I actually begin to act on it. You'll begin to see that. you'll begin to see that becoming very strong. Of course, they also realize that they also have to gather more information for it. They have to become more disciplined with that. They can't do it on an impulse, which is Mars in 8th house. And then you do it on an impulse, it's just gonna, you're just gonna end up wasting money as well. Now this is a time period where you really have to watch out for the friends you have. See if you are actually having problems with your friends, a lot of communication issues with your
Community
friends.
that you're in, the people around you, the larger community that you're in, you've got to be careful.
Definitely. I would definitely say that. Definitely, with the eclipse happening in the 11th house also, it's usually 11th house is also the house of your elder siblings. So there might be some karma with your elder siblings that can happen. Usually, I would even say with Gemini, perhaps there is your elder sibling might be going through a bigger transformation, and you being there for that elder sibling might actually help you out also. That is one more way I could interpret that.
Yeah.
For Leo as in the yes,
Leo,
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I mean, Mars in the 8th is never fun, but I feel like, this is something you've got to face, Leo.
Yeah.
And so for Virgo, this transit's taking place in your 10th house. Mercury rules your 10th and 1st houses. Mars is in your 7th, and the 10th, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto retrogrades in your 5th, and Venus retros in your 9th. So having the shadow in your 10th means that something's going to be revealed to you in your career that you did not know before. And it's going to be really concerning you because Mercury rules your 10th and your 1st house. So it could be like, you're going to find out why you haven't been advancing because of the fight taking place in your 7th house of partnerships. Maybe there's somebody in your work that's working against you. And having, the stuck energy in your 5th house of children and education has been frustrating. And Venus retro in the 9th,
Yeah.
9th house is higher education, and it's ruled by Jupiter, and Venus and Jupiter, they're both the gurus, but they don't get along so well. So I feel like, maybe, there could be, there's going to be some good things coming to you at this time if you're in higher education, or it could be from your father, money from your father at this time that's due to you. So what do you think about Virgo?
Yeah, Virgos are going to have a hard time as far as a job is concerned. Suddenly they might, not really a hard time, it's more transformation time, really. Transformation time with their career, a lot more opportunities opening up, and then they're having to deal with a lot of things, a lot of information coming up from all sides. They'll definitely have to face that. I would definitely say Virgo is definitely also going to face some challenges, especially with regard to where they see themselves also. Now, ambition part is Leo. Now, the actual work part, getting things done, the problem solving part is actually the Virgo part. Now, you'll see that is going to become very strong. So some unexpected challenges, especially from foreign lands and so forth. But I do think that, for a Virgo ascendant, there will be some opportunities coming eventually. Virgo is definitely, there will be some bigger opportunities they should be open to. It's kind of forcing them to change their way of thinking, really.
So 9th house can also be foreign lands, because 12th house is foreign lands, but 9th house is long distance travel. Yes, and so it can also indicate foreign lands.
Yes, definitely, yes. Yeah. So there'll be some gains for these natives for sure with foreign lands. They might actually be more thinking about higher education with foreign lands. That kind of thing can become very strong, definitely.
Very good. Okay, so for Libra, this transit's taking place in your 9th house. Mercury rules your 9th and 12th houses. Mars is in your 6th. Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto retrogrades in your 4th, and Venus retro is in your 8th. So Libra, the shadow in your 9th house. So things are being revealed to you concerning foreign lands, higher education, your father, but also luck and fortune. Like maybe if you haven't been having good luck and fortune lately, you're going to find out why. And Mercury rules your 9th and 12th. So 12th houses, as you were saying, foreign lands, but also maybe you haven't been sleeping well, Libra. Maybe you also haven't been sleeping well. Maybe your mind has been going on journeys at night. Because Mars is in your 6th house of health. And actually that's, I mean, having Mars in the sixth house is actually good because Mars is the soldier, and where he sits, he kicks butt for you, and your sixth house is your health. So, you know, you could be experiencing some good health at this time. But sixth house is also the house of enemies. And so having Mars there, he's helping you fight your enemies. Yeah, and it could even be enemies in foreign lands, Libra. You've been feeling stuck at home, perhaps. Maybe you've been feeling stuck with real estate. Maybe you've been trying to sell a house or something and you haven't been able to. And Venus retro's in your eighth. So you could also come into some inheritance, or at least find out why you're not coming into your inheritance at this time during the eclipse. So some information could come to you regarding that. So what do you think about Libra?
Well, Libras are definitely going to have a big shift in their way of thinking. You know, they're going to find that, you know what, the motivation, the things that inspire them are changing right now. They're actually going to find new ways now. You know, being stuck in home for the past 6 months a lot of people are thinking much more differently about their lives right now compared to how things were before. You know, a lot more work can be done in home. Now, of course, there are workers who are forced to, you know, who have been laid off of jobs, facing furloughs. They are still forced to think differently about their actual job also right now. So that kind of an actual thing. And ninth house eclipse is really a bigger purpose, a bigger dharma that is driving your career and rest of the houses that follows. So that is a big shift in thinking that is actually happening for Libra natives. Now, I do think that this might be connected with the adult issues, like with father, like, or with their bosses in general. There can also be big karma with their mentors coming up. These are the natives finally deciding to actually, you know, pursue a higher education also because of eclipse happening in ninth house. There might be a shadow element with your higher education. Perhaps what you thought about higher education wasn't how it was supposed to be. You're just going to get more loans and then it's not going to pay off. That kind of a problem can really come up, you know. So you are actually getting new information about your higher education and getting new information about gurus and stuff like that. It is actually changing the motivation in your life in a big way. So that can be a big thing with Libra. But it's a very important important eclipse for Libra, I would say, because it's still like what you said, Katya, Mars is in sixth house and Mars is aspecting Rahu in the ninth house. So finally, they're having to confront some fact directly themselves. It won't be easy, but I think it will definitely help out eventually.
Right. And, you know, it could be confronting their father and their father's inheritance or lack of inheritance. That's also something that could be happening.
Yeah, there can definitely be drama around that. Definitely, I wouldn't be surprised with that at all. Yes.
Okay. So Scorpio, this transit is taking place in your eighth house. Mercury rules your eighth and 11th houses. Mars is in the fifth. Saturn, Jupiter retro, Pluto retrogrades in the third, and Venus retros in the seventh. So having the shadow Scorpio in the eighth house, good Lord. Well, it's already dark enough. And now you're going to add the shadow. And Mercury rules your eighth and 11th. You know, the connection between the eighth and the 11th is money, you know, it's inheritance.
Yes.
It's elder siblings. But it's also transformation and communities. So, you know, Scorpio having the shadow in the eighth house, you could be finding out perhaps some information, maybe uncomfortable truths about the communities that you're in.
True.
The fight is in the fifth house, and the fifth house is children, education, speculations, gambling, you know, could be losing money. And then you're feeling stuck in your third house, and third house is short distance travel, siblings, but you know, third house is also our courage. It's our willpower, and you probably are not having very good self-esteem right now, Scorpio. You know, it's temporary. Just know that it's temporary. And Venus retros in your seventh house. So you're the one that could be having old loves come back to you at this time, like big time, especially during the solar eclipse. You could be, you know, like, you know, your first love could come back to you or something like that. But also, you know,
Yeah.
money from businesses could, you know, that's due to you could come back to you at this time too, Scorpio. So
Yeah, definitely. Scorpios are going through a big transformation also right now. You know, Scorpios, they are finally confronting the fact that perhaps they have been addicted to sex for a really long time. Perhaps they have been addicted to alcohol for a really long time. Perhaps they are addicted to TV or Netflix for a really long time, and they're not making any progress in their life. That's the Scorpio thing right now. I can definitely say that they will be forced to deal with that in a big way. Perhaps it'll become much more obvious. Perhaps, they are kind of shocked to what they are finding also. Now remember, if you the Scorpio natives will go through a now these are the natives who are also opening up to occult information right now also, who are finally discovering the world of astrology, who are finally, you know, consuming all the videos literally in the fashion, you know, that what.
ufology and watching alien videos. Yes.
Yeah, ufology, alien videos, constantly watching all that, a lot of, and being shocked by whatever you're finding. You know, Scorpios are definitely going through a big transformation right now. But what I would also say is that there can be some inheritance kind of thing. So these natives might have to deal with that kind of thing also. I would say dealing with insurance kind of themes can also come. These natives might also find opportunities from others as well. You know, there's a like investments from venture capitalists, for instance, or some kind of financial investment from their friends or things like that. There can be some events happening around that. Perhaps there might be some shadow themes that is happening. Perhaps there might be some kind of hidden theme that is only coming out right now and so forth. Now, the Scorpios are the one who will actually be facing the challenging part of the eclipse. They are finally forced to deal with the way they're communicating, the change the way they're communicating and so forth. It's not an easy thing for a Scorpio native, but that is going to come that is going to become apparent. The shadow part of your communication. Perhaps you have been saying the right ways. Perhaps you have been communicating enough. You know, perhaps you have been communicating the real thing that needs to be communicated. All those themes are going to become very strong for a Scorpio ascendant for right now. You know, so that's what I would say.
Okay. Sagittarius. This transit is taking place in your 7th house. Mercury rules your 7th and 10th. Mars is in your 4th. Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto retrogrades in your 2nd, and Venus retros in your 6th. So having the shadow point in your 7th house means that things will be revealed to you, especially because Mercury rules your 10th and 7th, concerning your career that you didn't know before. Things about your business partners are going to come to you at this time. The fight has been in your home. You know, we've all been cooped, like you keep saying, we've all been cooped up at home. And having Mars in your 4th house means there may have been some fighting at home, but also, you know, Mars does great in the 4th house for real estate. So
Right.
you may be buying a house at this time or making some money off of real estate. You've been feeling stuck with money, Sagittarius, and the Venus retro's in your 6th house. So, you know, Venus rules luxuries. So, you know, you actually, during this eclipse, you could have some money come back to you that's due to you from work, some service that you did in the past. And it's going to help you not feel as stuck, I think. I feel like Sagittarius, you know, your businesses over the next 6 months will probably start to take off. But, you know, you're going to find out some interesting things at this time concerning your business partners. And so just pay attention.
Yeah, definitely Sagittarius people are the ones who have been, who are going to have a real problem come up in their relationships, really, like all kinds of relationships. You know, this can also be their public kind of thing, also public image kind of matter as well. You know, what are they really posting on Twitter? What are they really doing? What are they really doing it on Facebook? And kind of shocking kind of things coming up on that front also. You know, really, I would even say the way they usually you haven't had a partner for a long time. Now you are getting a partner, but is there a shadow element with that foreigner you're talking with? Is there a shadow element with that girl you're talking with that guy you're talking with? You know, all that. We'll see that the shadow now. The good chance that you'll meet someone during eclipse time. Good chance that there is something shadow hidden within that person, whoever you are meeting during eclipse time. Business partners approaching you, the new ideas, the new books that are coming your way during eclipse time. Sure, it will open you to a new world, but there's no time to dive deep in also. But once the shadow calms down, there will be transformation with your relationship. There'll be some kind of new energies coming in, and really good things can come into your life in with regard to relationships as well. But yeah, usually it's Sagittarius ascendant native, they'll be dealing with communication issues with relationship really strongly right now. They're finally realizing, you know what, maybe I should be talking this way, and that's actually getting things done. Maybe I should be direct with regard to my own needs and so forth. That kind of thing will become very strong for a Sagittarius. They've been going through a lot, especially with the past eclipse on December. I mean, we are still dealing with the corona effect from that point. These natives definitely will kind of finally feel that the theme's kind of culminating with the Gemini eclipse as well. So that is one more thing that is gonna happen.
Right.
So yeah.
And if you're married and having problems, then you're gonna find out some information, Sagittarius, about what those marriage problems are. But if your marriage is fine, then it's business partnerships, right?
Yes.
If you're single, then for sure this is going to be a lot of emphasis upon.
Yeah. Usually, I would say, if you're married, if your marriage is not stable, this is a hardest time for the marriage for a Sagittarius native in general. So like you go through rocky years in marriage in general. This is a rocky year coming up ahead, so you just need to watch out for that. So try to the whole triggering part with information, the whole messaging thing. You'll see it's not an easy time for a Sagittarius native right now, but it is what it is. So marriage is what they are also. So so they'll have to deal with that particular part. They'll have to learn this communication part and so forth. Yeah, definitely.
And also the lunar eclipse on July 5th is in Sagittarius. Mm-hmm. So you especially during this solar eclipse need to pay attention, because in 2 weeks, you're going to find out some more information about whatever transpired during the solar eclipse. So poor Sagittarius, they've just been they've had a hard time the past couple of years.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so Capricorn. This transit is taking place in your 6th house. Mercury rules your 6th and 9th houses. Mars is in your 3rd. Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto retrogrades in your 1st, and Venus retrograde is in your 5th. So Capricorn, the shadow is taking place in your 6th house of service and work, and Mercury rules your 6th and 9th. So you could be finding out some information regarding even moving for your work is what I'm hearing,
Mm-hmm.
Like, 9th house is, like you said, it's foreign lands, but it's long distance travel, and 6th house is the actual work that goes into your job. Mm-hmm. So, you could find out information about possibly moving for a job, but also you could find out some information about your father's health too.
Yeah.
So pay attention to that. Mars is in your, so the fight is taking place in your 3rd house of communications, also your self-esteem and your courage. And what I'm feeling is that you've got some father issue, self-esteem stuff going on that's coming up at this time. Because the fight, or you've been feeling stuck with yourself because, having all of those retrograde planets in your 1st house, you're feeling really depressed and maybe overburdened with too much work, and it's weighing down on your mind. And Venus retrograde is in your 5th. And so I feel like maybe your children have not abandoned you, but it's like you're wanting your children to come back to you. You're missing, that love energy exchange from your children, but also with education. There's a lot of emphasis upon education right now. Maybe you're in school, especially with 9th house being activated as well. But if you're not in school, then, speculations like, stocks or Bitcoin or something like that from the past could actually come and help you make money at this time. So pay attention to, all of your speculations with money. So yeah, what do you think about Capricorn?
Capricorn natives are also definitely finding themselves having to adjust to new routines, and these are people who will prefer routines, because they are Saturn ruled and so forth. Now, Eclipse in the sixth house of routine, their routines are troubled, and they're like, "What do I do?" So it's like they might actually have to become intelligent about communicating and coordinating your routines. I would even say that they are forced to deal with troubles with the servants or like the
And
maids.
time management. That's the thing.
Exactly, yeah.
People don't realize that, Saturn rules time.
Yeah.
But it's not just, the grandiose scheme of time. It's managing your time, but also machines that rule time go wonky during Saturn retrograde too,
Yeah, definitely. So it's like you are relying on a laptop for a really long time and the laptop is falling down. Now you are having to deal with that communication team. You relied on your phone for a really long time. Your phone just broke and now you're having to deal with that, that kind of thing. Usually 6,000 is also connected with loans. So there's a chance for educational loans, that kind of thing, dealing with that, considering those possibilities, that kind of thing can also happen. I would even say like 6,000 also health, right? So I'm definitely focusing on your health, seeing that routine that is actually suited for your health is being pursued instead of like the other way, like you're sacrificing your health for the routine. So that's one of those things that is really can be a concern right now. But for Capricorn ascendant native, I'll say that this is a great time period to actually be of service, actually to actually help out a friend, to actually talk to a friend, that kind of thing. That might actually help out, them in dealing with whatever they are going through. Just being there in supporting a friend, for instance. Now, sixth house can also reveal enemies. Now, you might see that a friend was an enemy as well when you do so. You'll begin to see, and that can also be a challenge for a native to accept as well. It might be challenging when you face that. But usually, it's a competition that you might deal with, and you might begin to have a deeper sense of a healthy competition, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you've had any kind of issues with your father,
Yeah, definitely father. Yes, for sure.
if you've felt like the father has been your enemy,
Yes, big time. Yes.
then
Yeah.
you're going to find out information regarding that at this time.
Yeah. No, definitely. I would say 9,000 is father, 9,000 is your gurus, 9,000 is your own philosophies. If you found a philosophy that was not working out for you, guess what? Now you are realizing that you are a Democrat, suddenly you become a Republican. You are a Republican, suddenly you become Democrat. All that kind of thing is actually possible right now. Extremely possible, yeah.
Yep. Okay, Aquarius. This transit is taking place in your fifth house. Mercury rules your fifth and eighth houses. Mars is in your second. Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto retrogrades in your 12th, and Venus retros in your fourth. So Aquarius, having the shadow point in your fifth house of children and education, and Mercury is also ruling your eighth house, tells me that especially, you need to be careful that if you have kids and they're of, mature enough age, you need to make sure that they're not doing drugs at this time.
Sure, yeah.
But you're also, you could be also teaching, or taking classes, and it's transforming you at a very deep level. The fight is in your second house. Second house is money. So money has probably been a big issue for you. And you're feeling stuck. Well, having all this retrograde stuff in your 12th house, I mean, yeah, you're probably feeling stuck with your sleep patterns, but you in particular are feeling very, very isolated in this quarantine. You're feeling very stuck, very depressed. And so you've got to be careful of falling, into that deep, dark hole of depression and using the 12th house for all of the wonderful, like you said, fantasy qualities of the dream time, working on your dreams, working on helping others too. And what I'm hearing is like, being the nurse, being the caregiver. You could be feeling maybe, stuck in regards to helping others in hospitals, helping others in prisons and things like that, because of everything that's going on around us. You in particular are feeling the burden, is what I'm hearing, the burden of this quarantine. And having the Venus retro in your 4th house, well, of course, pay attention to your mom, pay attention to your mother's happiness. You could be getting money from your mother during this time to help you out with things. But make sure if your mom's still around, make sure she's okay. Go back to her and see how she's doing. You be the one who's the Venus retrograde and check up on your mom. So
yeah. So for Aquarius ascendant, definitely it's happening with the 5th house. So definitely the children kind of theme is a big theme. I can say that finally they are having to watch out for the communication with their children. Are they communicating with their children? Have they been communicating the right way to the children? Or are they just carrying forth their communication which they have been exposed to and so forth? It's one of those things. A big team, a big karma around communication is coming forth. Are their children spending too much time on the phones? Are they actually talking with the children and so forth? That's an actual thing an Aquarius native are going to face. I would say that now at the same time they are also thinking about investments in a big way also, like investing in the children. Children's education can be a real thing right now. They are forced to. These are the natives who are finally having to deal with the fact that the children's education is going to cost money. That kind of thing. Even investment and education, investing into the education
homeschooling,
homeschooling, all that. Now these are natives differently who are facing challenge because of because of their children right now, because of their own creativity. These are natives who are forced to become creative right now as well. They have no creativity. They're becoming creative in new ways right now. These are the people who are actually taking new hobbies of writing, technical hobbies, all that. All that is definitely becoming strong. I would even say that these natives definitely would be facing new ways of thinking as well. There's new ways of creative expression, in my opinion. So, what is interesting also with Aquarius ascendant natives have also been dealing with isolation themes extremely strongly. Though they are naturally comfortable with isolation, they are feeling that very strongly, and they're having to deal with those, mental issues and their thought patterns. What are they communicating? What are the thought patterns that they are communicating? All that is becoming extremely important for them right now. So Aquarius ascendant native is also having some challenges, but it's one of those placements that will improve with time overall. That's one of, with Aquarius ascendant native being a Saturn ruled Rashi. Usually, it helps if you just start talking to someone who is mature. It's as simple as that. When you actually talk with someone who is mature, you realize that the problems you have been dealing with, weren't problem at all, and there were ways to solve about the problem. You needed drive yourself crazy, thinking about the same thing again and again. So that's one thing I'll definitely say for Aquarius.
Right. And also, Neptune's still in Aquarius over here.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
So
definitely need to.
it's like fog. It's like fog in the brain,
Yeah, for sure.
And it takes so long for Neptune to get out of a sign. So I mean, they've been really feeling spacey. Is what
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so Pisces. This transit is taking place in your 4th house. Mercury rules your 4th and 7th houses. Mars is in your 1st house. Saturn, Jupiter retrograde, Pluto retrogrades in your 11th, and Venus retros in your 3rd. So having the shadow point in your 4th house and having 4th rule your 7th house as well shows me that you probably are finding out some information concerning your home, your mother, or real estate, and possibly, concerning your spouse and or business partners is what this is about. The fight has been taking place with yourself. Mars in the 1st, it can indicate headaches. It can indicate, anger in the head. even repressed anger that's finally coming out, and having, you've been feeling stuck in your community. So you could have been feeling like for a long time, just stuck and feeling like, you want to move forward with things and you can't. And then having the Venus retro in your third house, you could be getting money, through your siblings at this time or from your siblings. But just having short distance travel for you to make money. But also I feel like this is actually good for your self-esteem, Pisces, because, Venus is love. Third house is our willpower, our courage, our confidence in ourselves. And Venus retro there, maybe you're finally starting to feel a little bit confident in yourself, Maybe what I'm hearing is self-love. Retrograde is not always bad. It doesn't always take away. It can increase things as well. Maybe you're finally starting to, feel good about yourself, sticking up for yourself in your community and in your marriage and in your business partnership. So Pisces, I think this is actually probably going to be a good eclipse for you. What do you think?
Well, Pisces are definitely having to deal with the fact that they actually are stuck with home with their family right now, like as an actual thing. And they like their own isolation time, they like their own alone time, and now they are having to deal with kids, their spouses there. There is no more alone time, and as in they're literally confronting their own comfort zones in a big way, in many ways. And of course, that is forcing them to challenge, they're forcing them to see the good side of it all. They are dealing with it very, very strongly. I would even say that Pisces, fourth house kind of transits is also kind of forcing them to deal with their darker selves in a deeper way also. Like, fourth house eclipse is definitely
The moksha
forcing you.
house, right? So, I mean,
Exactly, yeah.
and it can be
It's a
the end of
moksha.
life too,
Yeah, definitely. End of life. Usually, you're forcing to deal with the things that they learn from their childhood. Are they becoming a child even when they are older? Are they really like creating problems where they shouldn't be creating because someone else taught them that's how it's done, and it's a different era and different age and different group of people as well. Is that going to help you out? So it's one of those things I've seen for a Pisces native. They do have a very challenging time right now with the comfort zones. But what I would say though is that these are natives who need to make time for themselves too. If that's something, try to get a space where they feel comfortable with. Try to do space-based kind of thing. You organize things around one particular space. It's a simple way to think. One of those things I can say. With Pisces, and also I would say that they do need to watch out for the real communication things happening within a family also. If they haven't talked.
Oh, your sound's off.
Okay, can you hear
Oh,
me
there
now?
it is. Okay, now I hear it.
Yeah, yeah. I was just saying, So yeah, so like I said, if you came across correctly, if your sound was off or something like that, right? So you really have to look at like if you passed on, if they thought what you're saying was received correctly, also perhaps there was some miscommunication going on with whoever you talked with within the family. Now you're forced to deal with that fact. Perhaps I need to fix that up right now. So that's something that can really happen for a Pisces native. I would really encourage for them to be open about their communication. So it's very interesting you mentioned about the courage and love factor. I would say definitely feeling courageous with regard to their relationship or their love. That's something that can become very strong for a Pisces native right now because Venus is third house away. So that definitely makes sense too. But yeah, I would say Pisces native definitely need to watch out for addiction issues coming in the home as well. So they do have this natural escapist thing going on. Now there is problems happening in the home, but make sure they're not escaping into an addiction when dealing with the problems also. That's one more thing definitely for a Pisces native. Yeah.
Right. And they may have been feeling stuck with getting great gains,
Yeah.
Money and possibly money from siblings. But you're going to find out why at this time. It has something to do with the mom.
Yeah, usually the family dynamics is very astrologically insightful, you could say that a lot of houses get activated, a lot of planets can be understood very efficiently. You'll find that the karma, it's not an accident that you're born in a family. They say that the moment of birth is actually chosen by you. The family you're born is also chosen by you. So it makes you think, why was I really born within certain kind of family? What kind of lessons am I trying to learn here and so forth, It's one of those things for a Pisces native for sure that they'll really be asking deeply in a deep fashion right now. But once you begin to accept it, and once you begin to honor that energies, whatever that particular person is representing, you begin to learn very very accurate lesson from them. You do learn that there are some hard things in life. You do learn that there is this aspect of karma. When you do good, you actually get good. When you do bad, it can come through your family also. You'll see that you're forced to deal with this moral principles and so forth, standing up for right and so forth. Am I being blind to my mom's bad habits? That kind of thing can be a real Pisces question, right? Yeah, that kind of thing. Am I being is my mother being blind to my own bad habits? That kind of thing can also happen on the other way. But yeah,
Yeah,
it is
finding out
again,
information from the past about your mom. Like if your mom's passed on, you could find out some information about her.
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. Wow. Thank you so much, Santhip. You've, of course, done a wonderful job again. I'm so blessed to be able to work with you and do this kind of thing. And I hope this helps everybody. We're in the middle of the eclipse cycle with this. July 5th being the last lunar eclipse in Purva Ashada. And so we can talk about that later. But I just want to say thank you so much for joining me again. And until next time.
Sure. Namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah.
Thank you.